Hi everybody. Again, I hope you're safe and well. And in this series of videos 5-4, we are continuing with our chord discussion. I would ask you to have your Hal Leonard page 47 handy here. So if you don't have it out right now, pause the video and get your list of chords out, because we're going to go through them. I'm going to try to cover all 15 chords, just the fingerings within a 15-minute video. See if we can pinch it down, maybe a little less than that. Just a few basics as I'm playing the chords now. We've said that the root is always the lowest tone. We had two categories of chords we're thinking about: the open string as a bass note, the lowest tone, and a fretted note as a bass note or lowest tone. But we want to think of a few of the different things, again, we talked about perhaps in one of the other videos, which is the introduction of technique that Distler gives in the beginning of the book, for lack of a better way of describing it. And I want to remind you that not only am I playing on the pad of my thumb, but my thumb, as I grip different chords, is going to be relaxed and flexible, not up on the tip, and I'm going to be moving around and adjusting my hand to different positions. And my wrist is rolling, like, again, opening a doorknob idea. My forearm and wrist, which allows me to get my fingers onto those 6 strings. If I'm turned this way with my pinky away from the guitar and I'm trying to reach the bottom string, I really can't do it. So for some of these chords, I'm really going to have to rotate that part of my hand up. And for other chords like G, I'm going to have to move my fingers and wrist in a totally different direction. Should also say that although in the future I may ask you to finger a chord on the written test type situation, I am not asking you to only think of these chords having one fingering. Okay, so these chords can really have more than one fingering. Some of them really are impossible to play with any other fingering, but some chords like G, if you look at page 18 in the Distler, in the Hal Leonard book, page 18 in the Hal Leonard book, they show you how to finger a G chord with the second finger in the bass, and then they show you how to finger the chord with the third finger in the bass, which I think is a little more difficult, with your pinky having to stretch that way if you're not used to it. Again, that shows right there I could play that chord a couple of different ways. I'm going to walk through the list here and just give you an idea of the sound of each chord and some ideas of how to play and check yourself. So I'm going to go to the E chords first, and I'm going to look at the strings and chords that use the letter names that are open first in this first category. So this is how I'm grouping them. I'm going to go to the 6th string open, and that's going to be my bass note. And if you haven't tried to play any chords, I think one of the easiest chords to play on this list is E minor, where my middle finger is 2nd finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret B, that's a B note on the 5th string, and an E note, the middle E, is in the same fret. Again, I have to find a way to get those 2 fingers to stand up on their tips. If my fingernail's scraping against the fretboard, that means my fingernails are too long, and that won't allow me to stand up the way I need to. See, the way I'm not touching other strings, I'm not laying down, I'm not pushing my wrist too far forward, but I'm standing up. Probably the easiest chord on the list. That's E minor. Again, I could play it with 1 and 2. I could play it with 3 and 4. I think using your 2 longest fingers to play this is definitely the most logical way to handle it. The reason I would use other fingers is I might have some moving notes or some other notes I'm trying to reach. But if not, I would stick with the 2 and 3 fingering here. If you add your index finger on G sharp on the 3rd string, again, I'm standing these fingers up, I get the brighter sounding E chord, the major chord. E minor, E major. And if I lift my third finger up, I still have B on the 5th string and G sharp on the 3rd string, again, hopefully you have your picture nearby, I get an E major chord with a 7th in it. Okay, and that is a little more dissonant. These 7th chords are going to be a little more dissonant. E minor, E major, E7. And one of the things I can do is play one string at a time. See, that clued me in there. I might not hear that if I strum like that. What's happening there is my index finger is just ever so slightly down and touching the B string. Again, it's going to take practice learning exactly, and I mean exactly, how you have to hold your hand in order to not touch the strings. I have pretty flat fingertips, and I have to hold my hand in a very specific way in order to not touch the other strings. If I move down to the 5th string, I get A in the bass. And A minor is very similar to the E chord. If I move 2 and 3 down, so now I've got open 5th string, my middle finger on E, my 3rd on the D string, E on the D string, 2nd fret. My 3rd finger's on A, so I have A, E, A, and my index finger's on C on the B string. You'll notice that shape is exactly the same as E, but it's a different string set and a different bass note. 5th string in the bass. Again, that's a pretty playable chord if you use that fingering. Okay, again, I'm standing up my fingers. Now, if I take that C natural and move it up to C sharp, the chord will sound brighter. It'll sound like it's from the major scale. And the fingering they're giving in the book is a very difficult one for me to play. It is 1, 2, and 3. E, A, and C sharp. But my fingertips are so big, I have a hard time getting that chord to sound because I just don't have enough room on a steel string or electric guitar to do that. On a classical guitar, that fingering works for me. So I often play this chord with 2, 3, and 4. So I'm using my middle finger, my 3rd finger, and pinky. I think most of you will be able to play that A chord this way. I just have an exceptionally wide middle finger in particular, and that prevents me from getting all the strings to come out clearly. So that's A major, 1, 2, and 3, or 2, 3, and 4, and A7. Now there I'm playing open A, E on the D string, open G, that's actually the 7th, giving it the dissonance, and C sharp. It's still a major chord. I'm still playing a C sharp in there. Okay, I had A minor, A, and A7. And again, I can check myself. I've got a dead note in there. I'm going to adjust. And I got them all to come out. That's 6 chords. Moving down again, I get D string in the bass. Okay, so if you look at the pictures now, these chords have been moving down a string set, and because the B string is tuned differently, that's why we're getting different shapes. That's why they're not exactly the same fingerings. It's because the B string is tuned a little different, and it affects the way that my overall chord eventually is fingered on the fretboard. So in this one, it's a little tricky. This was one of the ones that I had problems with as a kid. I've got open D, my A on the G string, 2nd fret, my D octave, D, A, D, that's my 3rd finger playing on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then there's an F sharp on the top here. And my problem was my 3rd finger, maybe turn this way, my 3rd finger would lean down just ever so slightly, and here's what would happen when I picked one string at a time. No good. So I had to learn to kind of bring my wrist forward a little bit stand up my third finger. Notice the straighter tip and now the more curved tip if I get my pinky out of the way. And that's the difference for me. Really common chord on guitar. It's an essential one. And it's, again, the difference between laying my third finger down a little bit and standing it up. And that fourth string in the bass. The F sharp here is the one making this chord sound major. So if I play D, A, D, F natural, and I still have to be careful with that third finger, I'll get the D minor chord. Again, notice the dark color. Bright color, dark color. D7, because it's a major chord, is going to use F sharp. But I have to refinger this chord because I need a C in it now. The seventh above D is C, 7-letter names. So I've got open D, A, C, and F sharp. Again, a pretty dissonant sound. So there's 9 chords. E, E minor, E7, A minor, A7, D, D minor, D7. Here are some of the fretted chords. The G chord, again, I'm going to open my hand up. I'm going to have to, I would suggest just practice touching these 2 notes at the same time, these 2 Gs, the highest G and the lowest G, and then add B on the A string, using your middle finger and ring finger to play the outside Gs. This fingering a little more difficult with third finger in the bass, so try it with the middle finger in the bass. Like I said, that fingering is on page 18 of Hal Leonard. G7 is kind of like a C chord. I've got G, B, open, 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 and F. Remember the zeros on the picture are open strings, so I'm playing all 6 strings for G and G7. Okay, with G in the bass, 3rd fret. Then I've got C chord, 3rd fret of the 5th string, 2nd fret of the D string, 4th string, open G, index finger on C, and open E. Again, I really have to stand that 1st finger up in order to get all the notes to sound. And my 3rd finger. One tendency here for people is to mute the D string, so you've got to get that tip standing up. That's C, E, G, C, E. Again, I'm checking my chord 1 string at a time. C7 is adding the pinky. Notice the dissonance. It's on a B flat, like from our F scale. You may remember that from the F scale. And there are just 2 other chords on this list. B7. We don't have any other B chords because they would be bar chords and a little more difficult to play as a beginning player. I've got B on the A string, D sharp with my index finger, and A with my ring finger. Open B and pinky on F sharp. Again, I can check it 1 at a time. That's, again, a very usable chord in the key of E because it sets up an E chord. So we hear that quite often and use that quite often. And the last chord is a bit of a bugger because it has a bar. It's an F chord. I've got F on the D string. Remember, we said this is the only chord not using the low F. F, A, C, and F. So what people try to do is bring their wrist or flat part of their hand too close to the fretboard here. I've got to have some space. I can't be like this. I've got to be like this in order to lay my finger down on the top 2 strings. I've got F, A, C, F. So this is the key here. Practice this little bar. And then add the 2 fingers. It's going to take some practice. It's going to take some strength. So there's just a walkthrough of all 15 chords. Give them a try. Find out which ones you can play right away and which ones you can't. I think the E and A chords are probably the easiest on the list. E minor and A minor and E. Give them a try. Have a great day. We'll add some more to our chapter discussion in the next video.